He recovers after defeats very well. He goes for the kill. And I think the end of that last game, the most recent one, Denis opened up his king a little bit. That's all it took.
That's right, and it almost feels a little bit like tennis, breaking serve, winning with the white pieces. We saw both players doing that back and forth. Now Hikaru's won with the black pieces. He comes back from the break with the white pieces. Should he win again, that starts to open up a lead that you have to pay attention to at 4-1.
And yeah, there's a feature between the players that in time scrambles, you know, under 30 seconds, Hikaru is a much, much stronger bolo player than Denis. So I expect those types of situations Denis wants to avoid, but we know what led to it. Denis is a quick player. He was in an uncomfortable position as white, and that led to that time scramble, being in a tough spot.
That's right, and now we're back into the action. A position, we haven't quite seen exactly this before, but that knight on c6, jumping to e7 and g6 the last time that they played. Let's see if he goes for that again.
Yeah, all very, very standard moves from both sides. Black reroutes the knight to g6. It frees up the c-pawn. We learned from the last game, you often want to move your knight if it's in front of your pawn.
Exactly right. Yeah, knight to g6. There is knight to g3, which is very standard, matching this maneuver. The knights on g3 and g6 support the center pawns on e5 and e4, and that helps you consider moves like d4, like d5. Now c5 aims to prevent white from playing the move d4, but it comes at a cost there. The d5 square becomes a lot weaker, and a small preference to white in terms of how the queen side shook down in the exchanges. White's rook does control the open file.
Yeah, it controls the open file, looking to find targets with that open file. Just by the way, bring it back to the match. Denis, when he made it to the SEC Final Four, he was winning every segment against his opponents. So he's lost the, so far the first half, but as I said, I don't think he's one to come back against Hikaru. So when I think about the match, even though it's very early on, he can't let this get away. And if he were to lose this game, like this is a very important opportunity to just, whether it's a draw, whether it's a win, it can get out of reach real fast. He's not the type of player to play from behind.
Yep. Yeah, it's a good point that these early moments, all of a sudden, a loss here can balloon into a lot more, because if you start drawing and losing games, you're just not putting up points. We saw that happen a little bit to him in that match against Magnus. So he needs those confidence boosters. Against Magnus, it was the more attacking style. So I wonder if he's going to trend more towards that. But in this case, you don't really have that luxury when you're playing with the black pieces. A little bit on the back foot, reacting to Hikaru's setup, and currently in a much more solid e4, e5 structure. Rook e8. Might look like it's supporting bishop to e6 as the next move, but you can always consider still capturing f takes e6.
Well, this moment right here, Hikaru played d4, the critical move. Now if Denis is ambitious, he can consider imbalancing the position. What does that mean? We don't want a symmetrical structure. So how do I take on e4? With the e-pawn. Because if you take with the e-pawn and white recaptures, then black can play c4. It's just a different structure. If you take with the c-pawn, that's symmetrical, that's more solid.
Yeah, this will be a look into the psyche. What is he feeling that he wants to play here in terms of a position? Because black can develop after e takes d4 with c4, bishop b7, and aim to put pressure on that e-pawn, the rook, the knight, the bishop. They're all well placed. White, of course, will defend with bishop c2. So I think that's an interesting way to play that doesn't take too much risk, but does imbalance the position.
No, I mean, you've set up your pieces for it. Your rook is on e8, your knight's on f6. Why not take with the e-pawn and gain access, put more pressure on e4? Give Hikaru some tough decisions.
Yeah, that does make a lot of sense. Of course, there is c takes d4. You can also ignore the pawn completely. You could just play the move c4 yourself. You could develop with bishop to b7, looking to put pressure, but it does make more sense to open up that rook from e8 if you're going to play bishop b7 and pressure e4.
Now, I haven't been too critical in the match in general, but I don't like that decision. I really think for Denis, he needs to imbalance things. And I think that was a correct choice, even objectively. Frees up the pieces, lets them breathe. Bishop d7, it's okay, it's solid. I think black's still doing perfectly fine. But I want to, again, add some tension, give Hikaru some tougher decisions. Hikaru's very comfortable playing these slow positions. We saw that early on, where he has a little bit of a plan or an edge. And after c4, by the way, really nice move. Why? Stops black from playing c4 themselves and opening up this bishop. And you see this bishop on e3, by playing c4, you can kind of create a target on c5.
Yeah, the interesting thing is if black plays b4, the bishop on b6 and the bishop on b3 are both blocked by the c-pawns. But white's bishop can still go to a4, trade for the bishop on d7, and the remaining bishops, b6 and e3, that really favors white. So this is encouraging the move b4, which is probably not that good for Denis.
We see h3 played by Hikaru, just a nice waiting move. We've talked about this bishop on e3 being a good piece, especially if black plays b4. We just put long-term pressure on c5. So h3 is a move. What's a follow-up for Hikaru? Maybe something like queen c2, connecting the rooks and gently getting a little closer to those loose queenside pawns.
Yeah, queen c2 also gets the idea of pawn captures on b5 in the air. You can take and then play knight d2, occupy that c4 square, and just blockade the c-pawn. So it does feel like after queen c7 here, you could match that with the idea of queen c2. And in terms of the center, we haven't talked about the d4 and d5 squares, but honestly, it's because it's so difficult to bring a knight for either side into those squares. Like, how do you actually maneuver a piece there? You could go knight e2 to c3, but there is always b4 to prevent that. Plus, the e4 pawn needs support. The knight on f3 has a really hard time reaching d5. And everything that's true in white's position is the same in black's position. The only difference, I'll say that knight on g6 could go to f8, e6, and d4. So that's a maneuver that I'd be looking out for.
Yeah, that is a maneuver, and maybe in a case like that, white's looking to take on b5 to open up this bishop and maybe contest that square. I'm a little surprised by the time being invested here by Hikaru. It means he's definitely looking at something a bit deeper than I was suggesting queen c2, natural moves, and maybe he's like, that's not quite enough.
Yeah, he's definitely looking for more.
What would that be? Is it taking on b5, maybe placing a rook on the c file just directly?
That was a lot of time, right? Invested in that one move.
That's not very characteristic for the position or for Hikaru, but he saw something maybe he didn't like.
Yeah, long term, that knight maneuver might have been something they just didn't have the answer for. So opening the position, in order to change the character of the game, and now blockading on c4 seems to be the idea. Knight d2, and it could be knight c4, but also bishop a4, trading those light squared bishops, gaining control of the light square on c4. I think we'll see queen c2 next, but you gotta ask about c4.
I don't like this decision by Hikaru, and maybe that's why he spent a lot of time. I mean, something's a bit odd here. Now, rook e d8, you mentioned bishop a4, forcing the light squared bishops off.
Yeah.
Well, now it's not forced off. And rook e d8, where do you place the queen? You mentioned queen c2, but queen c2 can be hit by moves like even like bishop d3.
Yeah.
And it feels like black is gaining a bit of space, a bit of time, without giving up anything. It's just a bit of an initiative.
Yeah, and bishop a5, I was going to highlight, the blue arrow beat me to it here, but bishop a5 is kind of the same idea as bishop a4. It's a pin, it's annoying, you don't want to have to move that rook on e1 just to move the knight. Black is getting ahead of the plans that Hikaru is trying to do, and we're seeing that activity. Suddenly, you have to be scared of even tactics involving bishop d3, the loose bishop on b3, and the pin on the d2 knight.
Yeah, we mentioned the plan for white, blockade on c4, but with these pins, with the setup, it's just simply not working. There's a problem here. And Denis is up on time and just gaining space every single move.
Exactly. Yeah, this is a position that time pressure is also going to cost Hikaru here. 30 seconds and ticking down with a position getting more and more tactical. Look at that, Hikaru Bonklat. Now it's not the time for that. Okay, wait till next game at least. This is a tough position.
Bishop
he
d3.
needs to calculate.
Bishop d3, there's tactics to calculate, but the bishop on b3 is loose. I think there's a huge problem here. Bishop d3, you can't take on c5.
That's right.
In the end, queen d1.
And now the queen's going onto the d file. First of all, there's tactics on e4. The bishop on b3 is also loose. This looks like a position that could get bad.
You can take d2 here, Amon. Bishop takes d2, bishop takes d2 is forced, and then the e4 pawn falls.
Yep.
That's
yeah, you can take the e4 pawn directly as well, but bishop takes d2 looks good. You can also bring the knight in, like knight f4. You can activate another piece. Bishop d2 to start. This at least wins a pawn, but it might be more.
He's going for more, hitting the bishop on b3, eyeballing e4, adding an additional attacker there. Hikaru under 10 seconds. Needs to find a way to release the pressure, even at the cost of a pawn. But you don't want to be under 5 seconds. He's got to move.
No, this is tense. He barely got that move off. Rook c3 guards the bishop, hits the bishop on d3. The pressure is on. Denis can take his time and find something that's difficult to react to.
That opens up the d file, hits g2. Oh, this is close to the end here. He's looking for a tactical blow. c4 is being recommended.
Oh, that's a difficult move to find, but boy, that would be tough to react to in Hikaru's shoes. If he finds a move like that.
Bishop d3. He didn't. Dennis decided to keep the time advantage. Just play solid. He's up a pawn.
c4 still comes to mind. It's not as good as before, but this is a clear edge for black. I just think that Hikaru has consolidated a little bit in time pressure. It's a little bit easier to play.
Can Dennis keep finding pressure moves, taking advantage of this time trouble?
Such a big chance here for Denis Lazavik to get back in this match.
Now, black wants to bring the knight into the game. That's the last ingredient.
Yep, knight to f4, but of course, white can meet that with bishop to g3. Rook c5 to hit the queen. You've got these tempo moves. White can also trade pieces with rook c8.
Sometimes the hardest thing is when black doesn't do anything. Then as white, you have to find moves.
Oh, what's going on? He's got his hands in the air. Something clearly on his screen he didn't like there. Immediately before he even flagged, I could see the hands in the air.
Same problem.
Same problem.
Same problem.
Guys, he has the same problem.
I had plenty of time.
Disconnected, yes. Okay.
I mean, I had like 4 seconds, so just go back like that.
He had 3.6, I think, last time when we were talking.
His screen actually disconnected.
Hikaru said, same problem.
Referencing yesterday.
This is the juicy stuff people like to watch.
This is true. But you of course, you never want to see stuff like this and just moments get decided like this.
So
yeah,
we'll get the position again and we'll replay it, right?
Hikaru's
From that moment,
suggesting
we're
a
at
replay.
4 seconds after king h2.
Yeah, you want the games to be decided on the board.
And of course, it's a position where Hikaru's not out of it, but it is an advantage for Denis. So it's a very meaningful moment.
Well, this is a tricky situation because even if they restart it, you can think about the position. I mean, players can't help it.
We have to stay here because otherwise we can look at it with the computer. So we have to stay here.
Yeah, we have to stay here.
Yeah.
Stay here. What happened?
Yeah, Hikaru said it perfectly, exactly what you just mentioned.
Well, I was mentioning, I didn't even mean that. I mean, even this break,
Oh, sure, yeah, you
the
can.
players are naturally going to think about the position, and
yeah,
it
of
favors, if you're in time trouble, maybe,
Reconnecting again,
but
usual.
obviously not Hikaru's choice
Well,
to
the
have
thing is-
technical difficulties.
The thing is, I was going to call it, I did see the hands in the air, recognizing that the moment was happening well before
Yep.
the flag had fallen. So clearly something was noticed and recognized early.
Well, we've both played Hikaru many times. He just doesn't flag generally.
Yeah, that's a great point,
He
yeah.
just, that doesn't happen. So I know, that's part of the reason why, he is where he is. He's so good in time scrambles.
Yeah. The flag doesn't just fall, especially in a position like that where there wasn't a direct threat. Like, he's going to make a move.
Absolutely.
So if it doesn't happen, there's a reason why.
I mean, I would have hundreds more wins against him if he would just let his flag fall. That would be, that'd be great. But he makes you earn it every inch.
Yeah, and then this is exactly the point. He's down a pawn in that position. Still a lot to earn. And a lot to play for.
That's a position with lots of fight.
So interested to see what they decide to do. Hikaru, I heard, proposed the restart, of course, just get back to the same position. Clocks can, of course, be sourced, located. What was the clock the previous turn? Recreate the moment and simply get back into it because, I actually remember they agreed, I think, to call the game a draw when it happened previously. That's not something that you're really in a position to do. If you're Denis here, you do have an advantage. So, of course, you want to get back into that position.
You have a huge advantage. You're up a pawn and you're up a minute. For example, we can think of a situation like this in another sport like jiu-jitsu. They reposition the players in the position they were last at.
Yep.
The problem is in between now and then, as chess players, you can visualize and think about it. But it's hard to find a solution, but yeah, the best way is to replay it from their current one. But
it isn't perfect.
It's not perfect, but
that's the thing. Nothing can be. Even when you restart in jiu-jitsu, the grip, everything might be slightly different.
Yep.
Here,
Yep.
the players are going to be able to think about it, but at least they both do. There's always going to be a moment where you could say, it benefits one side more than the other, but the reality is, no matter what the position would look like, who's in what position at the time, this would be the solution.
But is it the case that it's only happening to Hikaru?
So far, I believe. I don't actually be interesting to
So
figure out.
is
he
a
sat
count, same chair, same
I was going to say, is he sat in the same spot as when it happened last time. That's the first thing I'm thinking about right now. Because, of course, there would be others that have also sat in that spot as well.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
So waiting to see, sort of what the official call is going to be regarding this. I don't know if you have any good suggestions here, Eric, but probably resuming the game, recreating the clock situation seems to be the best that you can do, because you can't not count this game. You can't not count this position at all.
No, it could be worse. It could be a position where there's tactics and you're kind of playing a move because you know your opponent's in time trouble.
Yes.
A lot of times when you have a big time advantage over an opponent, how do you benefit from that? Well, you maybe make a move, maybe it's a dubious move, because you know they don't have enough time to refute it.
That's a great point.
And if that was the case, then this would be a problem. But because it's a bit of a static position, Denis is up upon.
I can say.
By the way, if I'm talking, can they hear me in the stadium?
Yeah,
can they hear us? Maybe
I'm
going to stop talking.
No, but I do think that I can relate. It would be a little bit embarrassing.
Okay.
That
they can't hear me in the stadium.
I was going to say, okay, that's good.
That's good.
It would be a little bit embarrassing if some of my moves that I play, because I maybe, he's got 1 second, he'll never be able to recapture this sacrifice, bad move. And then all of a sudden he's got 10 minutes to think about it during a break. It's like my worst move ever on the board. My opponent has forever to think about. So I know what you mean. That's a good point.
No, we have people watching online, those bullet players that play dirty moves. What's a dirty move in chess? Like guessing your opponent's going to pre-move and hanging a rook or something like that. And you'd be embarrassed if that was just frozen
the
and
last thing everyone's
blasted in
looking
front
at.
of the internet. Like, what are you doing?
Well, okay, we are going to wait for more of an official call, but in the meantime, we have a video that we'd like to show you. Chess in Parliament. It's exactly what you think. Take a look.
Hey, folks. Quick update. We had a local PC issue, as you guys have probably seen, with Hikaru's computer. What's happening now is we are going to be recreating the position in the game when the disconnect occurred. And the players are going to resume the game from that point. We should be getting going in a couple of minutes. So when you see the position on the board, it won't be a new game. We'll be resuming from the position when we experience a technical error. We should be getting going in a couple of minutes. Thank you.
Welcome back to the Speed Chess Championship. Hikaru Nakamura, Denis Lazavik. Eric, there's been a delay, of course, because we want to make sure that whatever Hikaru is playing on is working properly. Clearly it was not, because there's just no way that time would have run out. We know that. I think Denis specifically knows that. And that's why we've rebooted things. And the plan is to start from the exact same position, mimicking the exact time that the players had. And Eric coming back into this moment, I don't think... we mentioned it could have been in a crazier position, maybe more tactical, would have been more impactful. Coming back into this, is there any side you think that maybe benefited?
I mean, I'm not sure. It's tough for both players. Like just interruptions in the middle of a speed chess game, it throws you off. As soon as the game restarts, I mean, Hikaru won't have time to think. He'll be at 4 seconds. But just the mentality, you're locked in, you're focused on the game, and just a 5-10 minute break, I think for Denis, that could be beneficial. It could be tough because he was playing very, very well.
You had 3.2.
Okay.
So count 6 in your head and then start making them. Okay.
Now, the instructions being given to Hikaru there, genuinely, it's very difficult to start let's say you have 3.2 seconds. How do you begin exactly at 3.2, right? It's not easy to do. So I think the instruction there is sort of kind of count down until that in your head and then play. We'll see how, official this jump is, with the Olympics coming up here, it's making me think of, the Summer Olympics and getting off with the gun here, but I don't have anything as official as that for this get-off.
For sure. I mean, you're asking good questions, and I think we'll find out in interviews later on how the players felt after the interruption.
I'm curious,
Hikaru with starting a game with 3.2 seconds is extremely stressful.
Yeah, like when the clock starts going, if you don't play immediately, that could turn into 2.5 or less. So let's see how things go. The interesting thing is the players have to be so locked in and ready to move immediately. This is not like the start to almost any game they've ever played in a competitive setting before. Immediately they're going to be in time pressure.
Is there going to be a countdown? Is that what you're mentioning?
I heard of an internal countdown just listening to head arbiter Judith there speaking to Hikaru, but I'm not sure how that's actually going to manifest as the game gets underway. Perhaps they'd start the players with a little bit more time. You see the position there, but the time needs to be set.
But it's black's move, not white's move here. Oh.
It is white's move.
No, but it's not. Whatever. They can't set it with a black move. But this it was black's move.
I think Queen E6 was the
I
last
3 times
move.
by making H2, but they can't set it so it's black's move.
Okay.
He played F6, right?
He played Queen E6.
Okay, whatever. I don't know what's going on. But
I trust Hikaru in remembering
It will be
whose
your
move it was,
because,
but
he played.
okay.
but
Queen
he
E6
never
is
received
showing
it.
as the last move.
Got it.
So now that the king's on H2, I believe the order was King H2, Queen E6, and so it should be Hikaru's move.
Yes. That's how he flagged
Exactly.
his move.
So just making sure we obviously don't want to start with an extra move given, but I don't believe that's the case here. Now we'll get the time set.
I mean,
This is chess's version
here
of
we
a of 100-meter
Queen
race
E4
here.
on the board immediately. Queen D5. The game is resumed. Hikaru obviously had some moves prepared, and we have just the end game here. Rook, bishop, 3 pawns. Rook, knight, 4 pawns.
I'm confused by the time.
Hikaru's already built up 4 seconds.
Maybe the time's just displaying for me, but okay, I see it now. It's caught up. This makes sense. We're back in the position here. Man, it's such an interesting thing to resume a game like that for the players. Just immediate time scramble. Now, getting back into the chess, this is a position that you would hope to draw as Hikaru here. It's one that I think is drawn, but the pressure you can put on with the knight against the bishop, and just you can play so many moves before you make a pawn move and reset that 50 moves, for example. So let's see what happens as he's gone into a rook endgame and the king is cut off here.
I'm still surprised by that because
Yep.
knights are so tricky in time scrambles, and Denis had, as you mentioned, all the time in the world to maneuver around and decide to trade. If he's choosing it this early, he's confident it works, and I think it might backfire.
Yeah, a little bit skeptical because he could have waited to do that, right? You want to trade knight and bishop. You had all day to do that. He's going to win a pawn here on the other side of the board, but it might not be enough. Rook endgames are notoriously drawn, but there's going to be rook takes g4 and rook g5 as an idea here.
Yeah, rook g5, you pick up the 2 pawns, that's winning. There's a missed opportunity there.
But that looked tough to defend. And he's just going to, he's not going to play that one on. 2 pawns is going to be winning. That, all things considered,